So today at Going Green for Green, we're in Kingston, Ontario, and we're here not just for the beautiful scenery and the fabulous architecture. We're here because Kingston, as the oldest municipality of Canada, they have a lot of brownfield sites, and they're in prime real estate all along the waterfront of Lake Ontario. Now, Kingston has been very aggressive in terms of a municipality in trying to get these sites developed. They've offered tax incentives and have varying degrees of legislation put in place to offer developers an incentive to come to Kingston and build their projects on contaminated land. We're also in Kingston because it's home to one of the great environmental entrepreneurs in Canada right now, a man by the name of George Scott. He's just recently been named Businessman of the Year for the second time in as many years, and he's going to take us around his facility and talk about how he thinks globally and acts locally. And for you aspiring entrepreneurs out there, George has got a lot of information for you. So we're here with George Scott, founder and owner of Norterra Organics, a division of the Scott Environmental Group. Norterra Organics is the latest in organic composting in Eastern Ontario. George, just tell us, how does your wastewater treatment facility and I guess your other C of A's in terms of being able to haul contaminants, how does that play into brownfield development specifically?
We have aqueous wastewater treatment plants that we can actually put in place under mobile certificates of approval that we can clean groundwater on site. If the groundwater, if we can't on site get it to a certain limit, then we will pump it and bring it back to our facility and treat it. So basically, brownfield development is it's kind of an unmined jewel, I guess. And the problem with it in the past is that the remediation of the site wasn't worth the value of the site. So the government a few years back put in a program that they would give you a tax incentive to actually clean the site. We've done a number of small brownfield development. I have property that we've done bioremediation with microbes, which works in certain instances.
And those microbes actually, it's like microscopic bugs.
Yeah, well, these microbes they can't go. They're not like a bloodhound. They don't go find oil. You know what I mean? These are single. These are very, very small microscopic organisms. And for instance, they would work well, as you can imagine, if you put water into sand, the water is going to come out the bottom of the sand. If water is your transporter, doing bioremediation of a silty material in groundwater would work very well. So you'd basically drill a well and you'd put your microbes in and you'd follow the groundwater delineations.
So the microbes actually travel through the groundwater,
yeah, and
then basically eat the waste?
They digest and convert the hydrocarbons into a non-toxic form. So the problem is,
and a hydrocarbon would be like, so if
gasoline,
right? There's corner gas stations that had the underground oil tanks all over the city of Toronto, all over the province for that matter. And they sit undeveloped, and basically, you're telling me that we can inject microscopic bugs that would eat those contaminants.
Yeah. The problem with that is that
amazing stuff.
Well, it's amazing. It's sort of like it's not as amazing as it sounds, because it only works well with very, very specific types of soils. It wouldn't work well if you're in southeastern Ontario, we have a lot of St. Lawrence clay. If you have contaminated clay, how are you going to push water through it?
Right.
It doesn't. That's the nature of clay, right? It prevents water movement. So if you have contaminated soils, you're never going to be able to push microbes through it. So you can use other technologies. You can use passivation, which is a very interesting technology, using hydrogen peroxide. You can do the traditional dig and dump, where you dig the material up and send it to landfill, and they use it as cover. Cover is very important in a landfill because it caps each layer as they apply our municipal solid waste into our dumps. You can also bioremediate it by moving it and putting it in a system like the Gore system and putting air through it and using a microbe and continually turning it. And there are companies in the region that do this type of work as well, that we're in partnership with. Every site is specific, Michael. For instance, if you have a company or you have a site that is where they used to make batteries, for instance, you have a lot of lead contamination. Lead is a heavy metal. It's been designated as a dangerous substance in terms of human beings and plant and animals. And how do you remove a heavy metal from a soil? Like, people have this misconception that heavy metals can disappear. They can't. They just change forms. So you need to put a process in, whether it's on site, where it's a little bit easier in terms of regulation to treat on site. But it's more difficult because you got to bring all the technology to the site, and you may not have the site size to be able to deploy the technology that you need. Or you take the material and you bring it to a processing facility that can treat a lot of that waste and then reapply it.
We're here with Ed Smith, two-term councillor with the City of Kingston, and we're talking about some of the steps and some of the undertakings that the City of Kingston has taken to try and turn these brownfields into functional spaces within the community. Ed, give us a little rundown on what steps council's taken here over the last few years to try and develop these properties.
Well, the big step is putting in brownfields legislation and a program that allows developers to recoup their remediation costs. Over a course of a 10-year period, they get to recoup 80% of the remediation costs. So they can go in and clean up a site and recoup that in tax reductions. So it brings back into inventory lands that have typically laid fallow for the last number of decades.
What other things are hot on the environmental agenda for Kingston?
Well, we've had some success with the brownfields program. Block D was developed. There's 4 large buildings, 3 residential apartments and condos, and a hotel has gone up there. The city did develop on their own a new 6,000-seat sports entertainment center, the K-Rock Center, and that was on a brownfield site. There's a site at the corner of Queen and Bagot Street, which shortly an 8-9-story apartment building is going up, and that developer took advantage of the brownfields legislation. I mean, Kingston has been very hot. We've had a lot of development and construction in the last 5 or 6 years, both the municipality but also privately. There's been a lot of private sector work being done, institutional work. Queens has got big projects on the go, so does the hospitals. So, the construction industry is booming in Kingston right now.
So we're here at the Kingston Economic Development Corporation with the CEO, Jeff Guerra. Jeff, tell us, what exactly is Kingston doing to try to move these brownfields and make Kingston an attractive place for developers?
Well, certainly from a marketing perspective, we're talking to a lot of developers, both inside Kingston, provincially and nationally, in terms of some of the properties that are available in the zones, in the designated zones, to incent development in brownfield areas, particularly looking at tax incentives and development and impost charge incentives to help rejuvenate old abandoned industrial sites.
The LVEC venture and completing that project has made some changes in the community.
Well, I think it's a great example where the city, through an infrastructure investment on our own, helped to rejuvenate a brownfield site. We'd been working with some private sector developers on that site, and from a lending and a mortgage perspective, sometimes it's difficult to put a financing deal together on a site that has environmental challenges. So the city, I believe in its wisdom, chose that site and rejuvenated it, and in fact right now I think it's a major draw to our downtown and has been enormously successful since it's opened.
This project behind me is approximately 9 acres of land that was originally in the 1850s to the 1950s locomotive works, where they built and refurbished railway cars and engines. It has sat vacant since the 1970s, and it has been the application of numerous development proposals, but none of them were approved until this one came along, primarily because of the brownfields program, which provided assistance to help it move ahead. Okay, this map here shows the brownfield project improvement areas overlaid in our downtown area.
And we're right here.
We're
correct?
right there. So there's approximately 9 acres here that's currently being developed behind us. This is our downtown area here, and then there's a great opportunity within this area for really some really good development. We have some development that's already transpired, so there's a lot of opportunities for related amenities. We've just built a large sports and entertainment complex here, and we have another large piece of land here behind that's ready for development as well. We have a great piece of waterfront here to maximize on, and people are driven to downtown to enjoy the amenities that we have.